Hello and welcome! The quiz today will illustrate a very common but a very unpleasant situation, being out of position with a bluff catcher. So we're gonna see what to do, both on the GTO perspective and how to exploit opponents who are deviating from GTO. Here is a perfect example. We defend a big blind with 5-7 suited against a cutoff open, and now we are on the river, so what to do. But let's see first what to do on the previous streets. Pre-flop, the cutoff opened and hero defended his big blind. Some people would rather restill with suited connectors. It's actually wrong, but I won't spend too much time on it. I prefer to focus on post-flop play, but please let me know if you want me to analyze more pre-flop situations. Anyway, the flop gives us second pair with a couple of backdoor and opponent c-bet for half pot. Folding is out of question. It makes no sense to defend that hand in the first place if we then fold on that flop. So we can either call or raise. According to Snowie, calling should be our preference and raising is an option. Actually, the best strategy depends who's on the cutoff. Against a player who is c-betting too much, 60–80% of the time, we want to raise with that hand. Her hand is probably at its maximum equity, and we want our opponent to fold ace-king, ace-queen, king-queen, all those hands who have decent equity against us. If villain is playing GTO, then this strategy will not work and we should rather call. As we can see, Snowie advises the cutoff to c-bet only 40% of his hands. And more important, he will c-bet with a polarized range. Very strong hands, 3 of a kind, 2 pairs, or big over pairs, aces and kings, with draws that he can call a raise with, and then with hands who completely miss that flop and who have very little equity, so they don't care to fold to a raise. Hands like 5-4 of clubs, for example. So if he bets with that range, the cutoff is gonna be prepared to face a check raise. And check raising would be bad for us. For example, Snowie would not c-bet pocket tens in that spot. The hand is not strong enough to get 3 streets of value on most of our range, so he won't face a tough decision if he gets check raise and then face another bet on the turn if it comes an ace, for example. In the end, the big blind elect just to call, which is the best strategy in theory, and on the turn came the queen of clubs, and now villain is betting again. The queen is a very good card for barreling. It doesn't complete any gut shot of straight draw, and since the turn is rainbow, there is no backdoor flush draw possible. Let's have a look with range advisor. Snowie suggests to double barrel 96% with the range he c-bets on the flop. He only checked 4% of the hands, mostly pocket 8s and some draws with Jack 10, Jack 9, 10 9, 6 5. Snowie would also checks with pocket 10s, pocket 9s or ace king in that spot, but those hands are not in his range here since he doesn't c-bet with them on the flop. It's important to note that Snowie suggests to double barrel for half pot. It doesn't want the cutoff to polarize his range yet. Many reasons. Our range is not so strong. Many draws with gut shot and 2 overcards for Jack 10, for example. And Snowie wants to be able to keep on barreling with top pair, queen jack, or other pairs without being in a very ugly spot if he gets check raise. From the big blind point of view, the strategy is the same as on the flop, mostly calling and check raising a few times. Here the cutoff is betting much stronger, close to pot, so I guess his range is more polarized, and I would be more inclined to just bluff catch and not check raise him. Another of a card come the river, the ace, and boom, here come the last barrel. So what to do? The quiz gives us three options this time. Shall we call? Shall we fold? Or shall we turn our hand into a bluff and move all in? The last option is okay against an opponent who tried to get thin value against us, betting here with pocket tens, for example. But most of our opponents will have a more polarized range in that spot. Let's check what Snowie would do. Range advisor suggests to bet with a very polarized range, and it's coherent with his sizing since he advises to bet all in. So against Snowie we would face a set, two pair or nothing. Since we are against a polarized range, raising is wrong. Shall we call or shall we fold? The river looks a bit scary, but unless our opponent was barreling with ace deuce or ace high, it doesn't change anything. If we were ahead in the turn, we are still ahead on the river. And since most of the players would barrel on that card with nothing, I would suggest a call. Our opponent has a lot of misdraw, jack 9, 10 9, jack 10, all those gutters. So I think we have enough hands we are ahead on to justify a call. Of course, Snowie does agree, even if the decision is very close. By calling, we will go to the showdown and see our opponent hand. Depending on his hand, we can now adapt our strategy against him. If he turns ace king, he's barreling and c-betting too much, and now we should raise on the flop on the next time, every time we get a piece on it. If he shows pocket tens, he's barreling too much the turn, so we have an option to check raise turns against him. And he's c-betting too thin for value on the river, so we want to punish him by raising sometimes on the river when we have a bluff catcher. If he had pocket eights, well, we did nothing wrong, we were just unlucky. Bluff catching out of position is probably the most difficult strategy in all of them, and any details count. For example, if we switch the order of the turn and the river, then bluff catching the river is wrong and it's a big mistake. Why that? Well, now it's no more a good situation for our opponent to barrel. We can easily have called his c-bet on the flop with ace high and two of a card and a backdoor flush draw, for example, and now have found a pocket aces on the turn, and we won't fold the river. So he cannot bluff anymore with such a high frequency, and we cannot bluff catch anymore with such a weak hand. And conversely, if you are seated on the cutoff with, for example, jack 10, a 3-barrel bluff in this situation, it's wrong. So it's okay to bet on the flop, still okay to bet on the turn, but don't bet on the river. Just give up. Actually, you can still bluff 2% of the times. But if the queen came on the turn, then you should bet the river. So be aware of those little details. They are more important than one might think. That will be it for today. Thanks for watching. Good luck at your tables and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.